My name is Charlene Walsh, and I'm reading for you Finn McCool, the Giant of Knockmany Hill, retold and illustrated by Tomie dePaola. In olden days, when Ireland's glens and woods were still filled with fairies and leprechauns, giants too lived on that fair Emerald Isle. One of the finest of those big folk was Finn McCool, who was wed to the lovely great lass Onan. They made their home on the top of Knockmany Hill. Now, as any good giant, Finn McCool had his work to do, so he was often away from his home. Lovely Onan didn't seem to mind, for there was plenty to keep her own hands busy, spinning, knitting, and even giving a pretty touch to their great house. Life was very pleasant indeed. One morning, when Finn McCool was busy working with his kin, building a causeway to Scotland, the word came that Cuchulainn was coming. Cuchulainn was a giant too, and without a doubt the strongest in that part of the world. When he walked, the very earth trembled, and with one blow of his fist, he flattened a thunderbolt, so it looked like a pancake. He was so proud of that feat that he kept the thunderbolt in his pocket to show just how strong he was. Every giant in Ireland had been given a good beating by Cuchulainn. Every giant, that is, except Finn McCool. And Cuchulainn swore by the green that he would never rest, day or night, winter or summer, until Finn McCool was added to his list. So far, Finn had been smart enough. He kept moving about whenever he heard that Cuchulainn was in the neighborhood. But this time, Cuchulainn was sure to get him. So Finn left the causeway, sped off for Knockmany Hill, his house, and his darling Onan. "Finn, me love," said Onan, greeting him at the door. "What brings you home so early from work?" "Ah, the chance to get the sight of you, my sweet thing," said Finn. Since he was as honest as a summer day is long, he added, "and to keep out of the way of Cuchulainn. He's after me." Onan soothed her husband. She brought him his slippers and lit a pipe for him. She stirred up the peat fire so it would be cozy. Then she sat down a huge mug of stout and cut a gigantic slab of soda bread for her dearie. "Finn, husband of mine, enough is enough," said Onan, as gently as she could. "For years you've been hiking around from one place to another to avoid this Cuchulainn. Why, you even built your house high on this windiest of hills. You'd be able to be spying him coming. You'll not get a moment's rest until you stand fast and face him." "Aye, I'll be getting plenty of rest if I stand fast and he knocks me down. I don't have the heart to face a man who can make a young earthquake just with his walk, who carries around a flattened thunderbolt in his pocket just to prove his strength." At that, Knockmany Hill gave a little dance. "He's coming," said Finn, his face turning a fine shade of pale green. "Now hush, shh," Onan said, "and give me time to think. Do you worry I won't do all I can to help you settle this matter once and for all?" Onan then worked a charm the fairies had taught her. She took 9 woolen threads, each a different color, and braided them into 3 braids. She put one around her right arm, one circling her heart, and the third around her right ankle. Now, nothing she could do would fail. Next, she ran around to all the neighbors to borrow 1 in 20 iron frying pans. She hid them in 1 in 20 loaves of bread that she baked on the fire in the usual way. She set them in the cupboard with some bread she had baked the day before. She then took a pot of milk and made it into fresh wet cheese and put it along with some white stones at the foot of the cradle she had made up. "Now, me darling," she said, handing Finn some baby clothes, "put these on and do everything just as I'm about to tell you. And remember," she said at last, "Cuchulainn's strength lies in the brass finger he has on the right hand. Now quick, into that cradle, because I hear that mountain man at the door." "All right, woman," bellowed the giant at the door. "Where's that coward Finn McCool that I've been chasing after all this time?" "Well, well," said Ona, with her sweetest smile. "Now isn't that a shame? Finn's off working on the causeway when some important family affair called him away. But he'll be home by tea time, so why don't you just come right in and sit down?" Poor Finn trembled in the cradle. "See this?" Cuchulainn said, pulling what looked like a pancake out of his pocket. "This was a thunderbolt until I flattened it, and that's what I'm going to do to Finn McCool too." "Tis, tis," said Ona. "That may not be as easy as you think. Finn McCool's a big broth of a man. Why, take a look at our little baby, and you might be getting an idea and breadth and strength of Finn himself." Cuchulainn peeked into the cradle. "Chirrup," said the huge baby, looking back at him. "My," said Cuchulainn, "what a big boy!" "While you're waiting, why not have a bite to eat?" said Ona. She put some loaves of bread on the table, along with a can or two of butter and a pile of cabbages. Cuchulainn was as much a glutton as he was a bully. He popped a loaf into his mouth and took a huge bite, right down on one of the frying pans. Cling! "Yow!" shouted Cuchulainn. "What kind of devil's bread is this? Here are two of my teeth. They fell out." "That's Finn's bread, the only kind he eats," said Ona. "Is it a bit too tough for you?" "Too tough for me?" Cuchulainn shouted. "I should say not. Just give me another." Cuchulainn chomped down into another loaf and into another frying pan. "I'll not have a tooth left in my mouth, woman." "There's two more out." Cuchulainn shouted even louder. The baby began to holler too. "Hungry, hungry, hungry." "Ah, sweet dumpling," said Ona. And she handed baby Finn a loaf, and because there was no frying pan in it, Finn ate it right down. "More," said the baby, and he gobbled up another loaf. "He seems a strong lad," said Cuchulainn, getting a little worried. If this was a baby, the father must indeed be a bit stronger than Cuchulainn thought. "Ah, yes," said Ona, beaming. "Why, instead of dollies, he loves to play with those white stones there in the cradle. Show the nice man, dearie." Finn did as he was told. He picked up a stone, and it was really the cheese. He squeezed with all his might, and all of the water came out of it, and he popped it into his mouth, and he ate it right down. Cuchulainn was not to be outdone by a baby. He grabbed a stone and he squeezed. He squeezed and squeezed. But squeeze as he might, he couldn't get one drop of water out of it. He popped it into his mouth, and with a chomp, there went the rest of his teeth. The howl that came out of him almost broke all the windows. When he finally calmed down, Cuchulainn said to Ona, "What kind of teeth does this baby have? They must be made of iron." "Let me see those chompers, baby." At that, baby Finn opened his mouth, and Cuchulainn stuck in his brass finger, that very brass finger that was the strength and the secret of all of his strength. With a strong bite, Finn McCool bit the brass finger right off. Then he leapt and began to pound the daylights out of poor, weak Cuchulainn. That was that. Out the door went Cuchulainn, never to bother anyone, let alone Finn McCool again. "Ah, tea's ready, me love," said Ona. And Finn McCool sat down with the best giant wife in the whole world, and they lived a long, happy life. This book, Finn McCool, is a story about a popular Irish giant named Finn McCool, and this story has been passed down from generation to generation. Perhaps Finn McCool is best known for the Giant's Causeway, the highway he built between Ireland and Scotland. The encounter between the giant Cuchulainn and Finn at Knockmany Hill is one of the funniest of Finn McCool's adventures. Details in the border of this book were inspired by early Irish jewelry and metalwork. Tomie dePaola has chosen to use William Butler Yeats' spelling of Finn McCool. I hope that you enjoyed this story. Thank you for listening.